Hello pilots, and welcome to the last part in this breakdown series for the Terrans in Freespace 1. Today we will look at the last two ships that were introduced in the Silent Threat expansion. But first I want to say that this video will also have something at the end, and if you get that far in this video then you will find something that I had recently commissioned by someone from the amazing Freespace community, and I will actually be linking as many of their details, especially to their Pixiv, below. So please go and check it out for yourself, give it a follow, and if you see something you like, maybe ask him to do something for you. And maybe, you never know, it's great. So without further ado, let's continue, okay? And let's get into the last two ships to serve the GTA and eventually go on to serve the GTVA all the way into the second Shivan incursion. But what makes these two so special? Well, let's have a look and go from there, shall we? Named after the trickster god himself, the GTF Loki was hard to track and even harder to kill, as they had good stealth capability for their time. Designed by Han Ronald Corp exclusively with GTI engineers, specifically for GTVI personnel only, at least for that time period, and keeping itself well hidden due to its great stealth capability. The GTF Loki was the first stealth fighter ever to be designed by the Terrans, but these days it now functions more like a heavy recon fighter, due to its somewhat light armament and low armor, making this fighter useless in extended firefights unless the pilot was exceptionally skilled. This was the perfect fighter for infiltration missions due to the fighter's low sensor profile and capable of high-speed maneuvers. If this fighter could stay alive long enough and use its agility and speed to the max, they may even discourage enemy pursuit. During the NTF rebellion, many of these fighters were commandeered for their forces, and many now see this craft as inferior to newer designs, but that's only if you care about secondary banks. If that's the case, then what you should do is equip this fighter with UD8 cases, and with its well-positioned gun points on the front, made this a great anti-fighter fighter. And funny enough, this fighter, would you believe, actually had better hull stats than the Apollo and the Valkyrie. Not to mention, the Loki went on all the way from being in Silent Threat all the way into even the second Shivan incursion, so this fighter has had an exceptionally long lifespan and continues to serve the GTVA with pride. Now that is something to be proud of. Now we get on to the final craft in the Terrans list, and here we go. Our final craft is named after the god of Olympus himself, the GTB Zeus Strike Bomber. This bomber replaces the GTB Athena as the Alliance's current strike bomber, while having the ability to carry both the Tsunami and eventually the Cyclops bombs, that the Athena unfortunately could never ever do, making this a far more effective weapon against capital ships. Debatable on which is better, but that's for you all to decide in the comments below and tell me, which did you prefer, the Athena or did you prefer the Zeus? It's also notable to point out that most of the Zeus wings serving the GTVA defected to the NTF, and when I see most comments on this fighter, they say the Zeus wasn't as good as the Athena was on the battlefield, because the Athena was already good enough to handle itself on the battlefield, as if it could dogfight more effectively while the Zeus could not. By the time of Freespace 2, the GTB Artemis was a far better choice in every way, as it had better armor, shielding, and agility, so the Zeus would eventually be put into the reserve fleet until needed again. During the campaign of Freespace 2, these bombers, which would serve the NTF for quite a long time, would often go for surgical strikes, and often enough would take out allied warships left, right, and center, so they could be a bit of a pain to deal with though. But overall, this bomber served its purpose as a strike bomber, and the nice thing is that it could at least be used against capital ships. Debatable on, again, whether you prefer this one, the Athena. If you have made it to the end of the video, I want to thank all of you for your continued support of the channel, and because of that, I went ahead and had some art commissioned for the channel that you'll see at the end of the video, and I will be putting the details for this fantastic artist below, so please check him out and see what you want done for yourself. And in the meantime, it's back to continuing with series Resurrector in the next video. So again, thank you all, and I will see you in the next video.